Today on Inspired Money.
If we could buckle down and work really hard, we could pay this $50,000 off pretty quickly. So what we decided to do is live on essentially half. And that's what we did. So by utilizing our budget and planning out every month, we were able to cut down our spending and eventually grow our income. So we were able to pay down that $50,000 in just under 12 months. So 12 months, $50,000 paid off, and then we were debt-free just in time for our daughter Zoe to arrive into the world.
This is episode 83 with creator of the Marriage, Kids, and Money blog and podcast, Andy Hill. Welcome to Inspired Money. My name is Andy Wong, a managing partner at Runnymede Capital Management. Each week, we bring you an interesting person to help you get inspired, shift your perspectives on money, and achieve incredible things. From making it to giving it away, Inspired Money means making a difference, creating something bigger than oneself, and maybe, just maybe, making the world a better place. Thank you for joining me. Hey, Inspired Money Maker, welcome back. If it's your first time listening, welcome. Inspired Money is different from other personal finance podcasts because we don't want to just learn how to live with money. We want to help each other to live richer lives, make a greater impact, and together make the world a better place. Today we're talking with Andy Hill, whose side hustle is the popular Marriage, Kids, and Money blog and podcast. I've had the pleasure of meeting Andy and his wife, Nicole. They have 2 kids, daughter Zoe and son Calvin. And raising a young family is not easy. There's school, activities like sports, music, and family events. Maybe you've seen the sign, some call it chaos, we call it family. I definitely need one of those in my house. And amidst that busy family life, the specter of saving for college, which seems to get more and more expensive every year, looms in the not-too-distant future. Well, Andy and Nicole are a success story. One of conquering debt, gaining control of the family finances, and with the long-term goal of financial independence. Andy's a great guy, and you'll get insight into how they're saving 50% of their income. In this episode, you'll learn achieving financial freedom as a team requires great communication with your spouse, and you'll see what Andy calls his monthly budgeting party. How it's not just about the numbers, it's also emotional. Living debt-free means less stress and worry. And tips for teaching young kids about money and saving for college. Now let's get inspired with Andy Hill. Well, Andy Hill, welcome to Inspired Money. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Andy. Appreciate being here.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
I would say when I was probably 8 years old, maybe 8 or 9 years old, my mom helped me to get a passbook savings account. So I don't know if you guys remember those, the savings accounts where you'd physically write in on those little notebooks how much you have, and then you just subtract about how much you took out to go buy that candy bar or take it, or that new toy. So, I think back about that, and it gives me some good memories because my mom really helped me to figure out how to save and what it was like to contribute around the house. We would have, a list of chores that we'd have on the refrigerator, things that we could do to earn money around the house. And I always got geeked about saving money, even at an early age. So I think that's one of my earliest memories. My mom kind of getting me into being a savings guy.
I love that. It's always good to get a good start.
Absolutely.
And you do have the reputation for being the savings guy. You've built this brand, which is fantastic, Marriage, Kids, and Money. And I love the tagline, it's time to strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Your priorities change a lot. It's like before marriage, and kids. So for you, being this guy who loves to save, but how have your priorities changed going through those different phases of life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, early on, I like to save. I like to collect my money and have some fun experiences with it. And then after I, graduated from college, I got pretty used to the life that my parents had, given to me, the privilege that I had, being able to go on vacations and live in a nice home and things like that. And I just sort of assumed that you'd get those things when you graduate. So I saved up enough money to buy my house. But then the first thing that I realized was, there's heating bills and electric bills and water bills. What are all these things? And I quickly realized that I could not afford the house that I had. And, so what I did to make up for it is I ended up, utilizing my home equity line of credit or my student loans to pay for some of my lifestyle because I wanted to keep up with the nice life that I had been used to. So as those things started to pile up, I realized, okay, this is not the right way to go. As I met the woman of my dreams, Nicole, we got together. She came into our marriage with zero debt, and only lived on the money that she was able to bring in. So meeting her and realizing, hey, wait, you know what? It's actually pretty cool to save up and try to get the things you want. It was almost a reminder of what I had from my childhood. I kind of got carried away a little bit of, trying to keep this lifestyle or things that my parents had given me, and realize, you know what? You don't always start out, with the nice house, and you don't always start out with the vacations. So you got to kind of build up from there. And that's sort of some lessons that my wife and I started to learn together as we got together. So that's sort of the pre-marriage things that we focused on a little bit.
How early did you guys start having conversations about money?
Well, it's pretty much right off the bat. I mean, when we started to go on dates together, we started to learn people's money styles, right? You go out, you have fun with friends, what you decide to do with your extra time. In the beginning, a lot of it was just the courting process, right? You want to go out, you want to have fun, you want to go out to dinners and have some fun. And I kept up that sort of, I guess full lifestyle, a little bit of the money I really didn't have, but I was spending anyway because I wanted to impress her. We would go out to dinner every time. So Nicole lived in California and I lived in Michigan when we started dating. So right off the bat, our relationship cost a little bit of money because I'd have to physically fly there to spend time with her. So, but I didn't care. I was in love, and money aside, I wanted to make this thing work. So I would fly to California at least once a month to be with her. And we would go out to nice dinners. I would buy her roses, all things that I was, pretty much putting on my home equity line of credit or my student loans.
You were using that one creatively.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little bit of equity in my home, but not enough to keep it going, especially during the recession in Michigan in the late 2000s. So it was thinning out pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, a big part of our conversations when we started to talk about getting married was sharing that, saying, okay, well, hey, I've got $30,000 in student loans, and I've got $10,000 in home equity line of credit. What are you bringing into the marriage? And she had a car, so she had some debt with her car. So we both had some things to collect and talk about. I guess hers was a lease car, so she didn't really have the debt at that point, but we made some decisions to buy it. But some of those conversations happened as we were getting together, and it really helped to sort of open up the conversation as we were deciding to get engaged and be married.
Well, I understand that you used your home equity line to also finance the engagement ring.
Yes.
Was that a good idea?
Oh, as far as an inspired money idea, no, that was not a good idea. Actually, what I did is it was even worse. I used my student loans. So I think I borrowed at maybe 6.8%, 7%, something like that. Because I wanted to marry this woman. I was in love and I wanted to make it happen, and I did not have the money. I think I saved for a really long time, but I think I was making maybe like $35,000 a year or $40,000 a year, something like that. I could just not save enough to get the ring that that she deserved, that she wanted. So I had to borrow. I had to borrow quite a bit of money to buy her ring, and that was not the most exciting thing. Not the most romantic thing to do when you're entering the relationship. And the worst part about it is I didn't even tell her that I used the student loans to buy the ring until after we had gotten married. So
right, you're like, here's the ring. Now let's talk about our debt.
Right.
Now you have to help pay for this.
Exactly. Yes. How romantic, right?
Exactly. Well, everything's shared. Fair is fair.
That's right. That's right.
So how'd that go over?
You wanted it. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we are both very much in love with each other. And it was sort of one of those conversations where, hey, this is you, this is me, and this is what we are together. And I'm glad that, we're talking about it now, at least at the beginning of our relationship. But, never fun to talk about. I think what our combined was maybe $50,000 of debt at the time we got married. But it kind of gave us something to work on together, and it became sort of our driving force as we got married and started to talk about having kids.
So at this point, it's pre-kids. You're married. Were you living in what was your bachelor pad at that point?
Yeah.
And how do you go about, it's like, what are your first steps to extinguish this $50,000 of debt?
Yeah. I mean, for us, so after we had some of those conversations and we started talking about having kids and realized that we were going to be parents soon, that became our driving force. Hey, let's get rid of this debt together because it'll give us some freedom. And it'll also help her, which she was working in a job that she wasn't really all that excited about. She eventually wanted to become a stay-at-home mom when the kids came into the world. So that became our driving force together to try to eliminate that. And yes, we were living in my bachelor pad bungalow that I had purchased right out of college that I couldn't afford. But now that she was living there, hey, double income, we can afford this thing now. But so what we did to get rid of that is we started meeting once a month for what we dubbed our budget party.
I love the name.
Oh, yeah.
Good marketing. Good marketing, Andy.
Yes, especially for a wife that really was not super excited about, budgeting or living on a budget and things like that. It required me to be a little bit more of, utilize some of my sales and marketing savvy. Say, hey, sweetheart, let's get together for this really cool party where we, have some wine and beer and some pizza. Yeah, we're going to talk about our budget and things like that, but mostly think about the wine, the beer, and the pizza. So we started to do that about once a month. And after some time, she got used to it and had some fun with it, and she started to see the value. So the part of that got everybody excited was, hey, we can start making some really big inroads in paying down this debt. We'd help her to own her car outright. We'd get rid of my student loans and then not have any of this home equity line of credit jazz anymore. And then really her ring would be completely debt free. Which is sad to say. I've never said that before. Oh, man. But yeah, no, we worked together. We met every month and we plan out our numbers. And we quickly realized that, hey, between her income and my income, we were now making just a little bit over six figures. And if we could buckle down and work really hard, we could pay this $50,000 off pretty quickly. So what we decided to do is live on essentially half. And that's what we did. So by utilizing our budget and planning out every month, we were able to cut down our spending and eventually grow our income. So we were able to pay down that $50,000 in just under 12 months. So 12 months, $50,000 paid off, and then we were debt free just in time for our daughter Zoe to arrive into the world.
It's super impressive.
Thank you.
I mean, a 50% savings rate is rare, I think, and commendable.
Thank you.
Were there areas that you could identify right away where you were saying this is where we can make an immediate impact that is meaningful?
Yeah, for us, it was a lot of the entertainment side of things because we were in our late 20s. We were having a lot of fun. A lot of the money that I was spending before was from travel to go see her now that she had moved back to Michigan for
savings.
For our lives. Yes, absolutely. Big savings. So, I'm not saving up for a ring. Pitifully, I'm not traveling to California anymore. We're not going to go out to restaurants and bars and concerts just at free will as much. So yeah, we maybe cut down a lot on the exciting stuff. But you know what? She was pregnant. We weren't going out to the bar. We weren't drinking as much. And some of those things, we did have to say no a lot to friends. We had to say no to family vacations. But we knew it was just for like sort of a period of time, Hey, we're not always going to be making this amount of money. We're eventually going to grow our income. And we're also not going to, be paying off this type of debt forever. So let's do this. Let's do this for a season and make some changes. So that's how we did it. We sort of buckled down, and the big part of it was just tracking the spending each month. So when we'd get a little win, like, hey, if I got a bonus at work, or if we didn't factor the taxes in right and we got a tax return, we would just throw that at the debt as well. And we also looked around the house that things that I had accumulated over my bachelor years, of things that I didn't really need anymore, and stuff that she had from her single life, and we sold some of it. So a bike, a purse, things like that, things that were just laying around the house that we could make some money on, and we utilized that cash and threw it against the debt, and that really helped.
Where would you sell the stuff? On Craigslist, eBay?
Yeah, back then it was Craigslist, but nowadays Facebook Marketplace is great. You can connect with people in your local area. You can post it. It's a lot easier for marketing, but Craigslist was huge back then. eBay as well. I sold, I remember I had all this gigantic DVD collection, and this is before people didn't buy DVDs anymore, but I had all this whole gigantic DVD collection, and I sold it on a big lot, on eBay, and you made a couple $100 from that, but just things like that I didn't really use anymore. And I'm like, all right, well, if I can turn this into cash and then throw it at the debt, it's amazing. You look around your house and there are things that you don't use or that are in closets that people will pay you for. So, I mean, we would take time just on a weekend and scan our house. Luckily enough, my wife is very, we'll say, like, minimalistic. She likes a clean house, organized house, and everything is in its right order. So with that, she was fine, having less clutter and then turning that into cash.
So it's just chipping away and making progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just one big thing. It's just a bunch of little things that helped to make it happen. And those are some of the things we did.
Did it feel like you were making a big sacrifice to hit that 50% savings number?
For me, it didn't. For my wife, it did. I grew up a little different. I had sort of this savings mindset, and I had a pretty great life growing up where we had a lot of abundance of things. I grew up in a really privileged family with great house, great education, things like that. Nicole also had an incredible family growing up, but she also grew up in, an apartment for her three siblings, or her two siblings, and her mom, and they, it was like a 2-bedroom room. So she kind of always had the desire of having a little bit more when she grew up, and, when she had her own space. And we've talked about that a lot together. And that's something that I've had to discover a little bit more. When you marry somebody, they have a different way of thinking about money, or thinking about what, comfortable is, or what success is. And we've worked on that together. So she's brought me along to the camp of like, hey, you know what? It's nice to have nice things, and it's nice to enjoy your money, and it's nice to, really, enjoy what you've worked hard for. And I've brought her onto the fact of, hey, you know what? We can, do a little bit less today and have a greater tomorrow. So combined together, I think we've made a great relationship, and and a great future for ourselves.
Yeah, that makes for a nice compromise. That's always good. With these budget parties, it's more than just looking at the numbers. What I'm hearing you saying is that through the communication, it's really you're identifying and working with one another to understand. It's like, what are your values surrounding money? What are your beliefs surrounding money? How do you define success?
Yeah.
What role did that play in your success, being able to execute, right? I understand that you were talking about vision and what you wanted to accomplish. It wasn't just numbers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I get kind of geeked about the numbers, but for her, it's more of an emotional side of things. So what is the payoff? Like, yeah, let's pay off this debt. That's cool, check box. But what does that mean? What is that going to allow us to do? And so that's why she got motivated by, hey, if we pay off this debt, you can probably go to part-time in your current role when our daughter arrives. And then eventually, if we keep up this pace, you can eventually be a completely, stay-at-home mom. And that inspired her. So that was sort of our emotional goal, our dream, that we said, hey, wouldn't it be great if you were able to raise the kids at home and, really be a part of their lives? And that kind of got her excited, because she had chosen a career that she liked, but she didn't love. And she was more inspired by being able to spend time with her kids and raise them than her career. So those were sort of the emotional goals that got her excited. And then, we've we've continued to have those. To your point, it's not just all about the numbers when we get together. We talk about those. Hey, how does this push us closer to our goals in our marriage? How does this push ourselves closer to our financial goals for the future? And that's kind of what gets us pumped up to do it every month. Because yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to, amongst all of the things that we've got, especially with young kids now, to set aside that time to look at the numbers and make our plans for the future. So you've got to have something that's sort of that carrot that gets you excited and keeps you moving.
So at what point did you pay down the $50,000? Like, we did it. We have zero debt. Like, was there a party? And at what point within that process, you and Nicole say, we're planning to have kids, we need a bigger house now?
Yeah. So yes, the last debt that we paid off was her car. Originally, it was a lease car, and then we decided to buy it. So that was $20,000 for us to pay off. And yeah, we enjoyed it. I mean, I remember we made the last payment and we sent it in, and then we went for a drive in her car on a nice night in Michigan. It was sort of just a celebratory, hey, this car has never felt this way because it's completely paid off kind of drive. So that made us feel really good. And then, shortly after that, Zoe was maybe less than 1 year old. Nicole had been continuing her career. We had talked about having another child. And once we found out that we were pregnant with our second child, Calvin, that's when the conversation started around, okay, your bachelor pad is nice, Andy, but I'd like a little bit more space. I would like that forever home. I'd like to be in a community that has great schools. And, I was really reluctant to that because I was getting kind of geeked about this. Hey, we have really good control of our money. And if we have to buy another house that's in a greater neighborhood, that means a bigger mortgage. That means more stress for me to perform at my job that, is very difficult for me to go to every day. So I was kind of hesitant to even move forward with it. But she kept up with the conversations and she kept up with the research to finding, the great house. And one day she found a great house and she said, "Hey, you gotta take a look at this one. This is the one." And that's when we looked at this house that we're currently in, and yeah, it was a great house. It was a great neighborhood. The neighbors were cool. There was a lot more space in between the area between our house and our neighbors, and so it was kind of revealing for me. I mean, yes, this is something we can do. This is something that would be great for our family. But I still had in my brain, the side of, my financial, motivations. What can we do to not be, straddled with this mortgage for a really long time? Because I want to give you that house and I want to give you that life that you're really excited about, that future, the way that you see your family growing up in this beautiful home. But I also don't want to be straddled with debt for a really long time and the stress that comes with that. So that's when her and I had a conversation about, okay, how can we both get what we want? How can you get the house and how can we get this sort of debt-free life that allows us to, have less stress? And that's when we agreed that we'll get the house, but we're going to pay it off aggressively and we're going to pay it off in less than 5 years. And that's sort of the agreement that we made together.
And you guys were able to do that.
Yeah. So not last fall, but the fall before that, we completely paid off the house. We were in less than 4 years. So again, we kept up the budget parties. We kept up that 50% savings rate. We definitely grew our income in between that time. She went from, as we talked about, part-time to full-time stay-at-home mom. I was able to grow my income during that period of time through, changing jobs, also getting progressive levels of responsibility at my new job. And we were able to keep that up and keep up the intensity and pay it off in less than 4 years.
Is it about the consistency that you could, keep up with the budget parties and just stay focused?
Yeah, I think consistency and also just familiarity of being able to say, hey, this worked for us last time when we wanted to pay off that $50K in debt. Why don't we keep up the same path? And, wouldn't it be amazing if we were mortgage free by the time we're 35? I mean, wouldn't that be nuts? People don't do that. But we could do that. And we could have some incredible freedom that we could really enjoy.
Coming up, we talk Andy's side hustle,
future financial goals, and tips for teaching kids about money. But first, Andy's selfish motivations for paying off the mortgage as quickly as possible.
It was very selfishly motivated on my part. I don't, when she went down to part-time and then full-time, no work, I felt a gigantic amount of stress on my shoulders saying, okay, it's really up to you, Andy, because you only have one stream of income right now. And if you mess up, if you don't hit the sales numbers, if you're not the flavor of the week, if you upset the boss, your family's in jeopardy. And that's what I was feeling in my head. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do this, but we got to pay this off fast because I'm not liking, the feeling that I have of all of this pressure on me. So yeah, I mean, it was a series of partnership, but it was also selfishly motivated on my own stress level, because I want to have a really comfortable life, but I also want to make sure we're safe and protected. And that's sort of like that papa protection mode that I've got when I've got little kids, right? I want to make sure that they've got a really comfortable life, but we're also doing the right thing to, protect their future.
The show notes for this episode can be found at inspiredmoney.fm/083. If you're listening in your car or wherever you are, check the show notes if you want to learn more about Andy or things mentioned in this episode. It's time for the Runnymede Money Tip of the Week. Of the hundreds of items that we spend our money on throughout the year, just 3 things account for exactly 70% of annual spending. Do you know what they are? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the top 3 are housing at 37%, transportation at 18%, and food at 14%. So housing's huge. Did you know that since 1950, the average home size has increased from 983 square feet to nearly 3,000 square feet? I read somewhere that 68% of a typical house still goes entirely unused. Kind of makes me want to live in a tiny house. Well, it's probably not so great for my family of 5. For now, I better just watch tiny houses on TV. You may remember in episode 75, Talat and Ty McNeely paid their mortgage off 25 years early. The money tip in that episode was to switch to bi-weekly payments and to budget for an extra payment each year. Those moves can make a significant impact. This week, I wanted to share a simple tip to help you with 2 out of the 3 of those big expenses. All right, it's not that exciting, but bring your lunch to work. I know brown bagging it to work every day isn't cool, but trading lunch out for eating in can make you a lean, mean, mortgage-free machine. Saving $100 a month in lunch money and putting it toward your mortgage could save you more than $25,000 in interest. While you're at it, try brewing your own cup of coffee. Save your Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts money and add it to your mortgage payment. According to Acorn's Money Matters report, the average American spends $3 per day on their coffee. That's around $90 per month added to your mortgage payments, which could save you thousands of dollars in interest on the lifetime of your loan. Sometimes it's the small moves applied to your big 3 expenses that can add up to be significant. That's the Runnymede Money Tip of the Week. Inspired Money is brought to you by Runnymede Capital Management. We help you to plan, invest, and worry less. What's your biggest financial challenge right now? Are you paying attention to your retirement and investment accounts? When was the last time you reviewed and reallocated? If you need help, go to inspiredmoney.fm/Andy and email me, or schedule a 15-minute call at inspiredmoney.fm/15. We can talk about anything, this show, podcasting, or your investments. Whatever. I'd love to hear from you. You're listening to Inspired Money. I'm Andy Wong. You are able to increase your income. To what extent do you credit having set the goal and having these meetings and the vision? What role did that play in you switching jobs and just really being cognizant or strategic about opportunities to increase your income?
Well, in my job that I had when we got together, it was a sales role, but it was, some part base and then some part commission, right? So When I did really well, we did really well, right? And then when there's years things were pulled back, it was a little flexible. So when we were talking about moving from her to part-time to full-time and then buying a new house and then having a new kid, the commission structure kind of scared me a little bit. It's like, all right, well, I better perform or things are going to be really rough, especially with one income. So I got a new job opportunity where essentially they said, hey, we'll pay you, your base and your commission on like a good year. And that's your offer for this job. And I said, oh, okay, I will take that. I'm going to move forward. That's a great deal for me in my life right now. That makes me feel less stressed because essentially, I'm going to perform and do well, but at least I'm going to get that paycheck consistently every couple weeks. So by switching from my previous employer to my current employer, that helped me a lot to feel comfortable, but I also moved from a local company that does, marketing services to one of the best companies in the world that does marketing services. So I was making a strong bet for my family, and I was also making a strong bet for my career.
That is fantastic. So where are you today? You paid off your $50,000 debt. You paid off your mortgage, so you're mortgage free. So you get to live with less stress, but you didn't just have a party and sit on your laurels and say, okay, I made it. Now I could just work without worry. Yeah.
No, I got excited about, that feeling that you and I were just talking about of living on a single income still kind of frightened me a little bit. And I don't know, maybe this is just an old 2 million year old brain or something like that about protection, right? I've heard, Tony Robbins talk about that. Sometimes we just go back to our animal instincts. And for me, it's like, hey, if I still only have one single source of income, that still frightens me a little bit. So I thought, hey, what can I do to give back in this community that I've become a part of, this personal finance community, and also make a little bit of side income doing it. So I decided to start a podcast and a blog a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, for three reasons. One, to continue to learn, because there are so many people in our community that are so intelligent, and I have so much still to learn. And then the second one is to help, the things that I've done, if I can help people to do some of those things and also help their family, that'd be great. And then the third thing is just to sort of flex my entrepreneurial muscle and then maybe make a separate stream of income. And really the third one was my last, thought of making more income. But now, 2 or 3 years later, it's become a sort of side hustle hobby thing that's helping me to create a little bit of extra income to help us with our new goals, our new financial goals. So I'm really enjoying it, and I get to connect with great people like you.
Well, thank you. So you're very happy having a side hustle, but with the idea of maintaining your full-time job.
Yeah. I think right now where we are, I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And Nicole is, still doing the stay-at-home mom thing, but she started to do some more part-time work. So she is now a professional home organizer. So she does this maybe like 10 hours a week with a small business in town. And it helps, do a couple things. It helps her to fulfill a passion of hers. We talked about her interest in being very organized and helping people with their lives. And then also make a little bit of income. And also it just helps her personally feel like, hey, I'm not just doing the stay-at-home mom thing. I'm able to use my brain. She used to work in an office environment. Yeah, and it's difficult, but it's also nice to interact with adults sometimes instead of just talking, baby talk. So she's enjoying that. And, at the same time, I wanted to do something that, fulfilled that entrepreneurial need for me. But it also, got us both excited. So she's making a little bit more money. I've got this little side thing, but I still feel like it's smart for me to stay where I am because of the benefits that are involved, of saving for my future. And I'm also really excited about some of the things that are happening within my career right now and the growth that it's happening. So I'm kind of just like, I don't know, I've got 1 foot in this entrepreneurial world and 1 foot in my career, and it feels good. And then, until some things change, it's nice to have that diversification of where your money comes from. And if things change, like for example, let's say podcasting just goes away tomorrow for some reason, and that's not going to happen to everybody. Keep listening to Inspired Money. It's a great show.
And Marriage, Kids, and Money.
Right, exactly. And then I've got then I still have my career. And then in the same sense, let's say a new management comes into my company and says, hey, we don't need you anymore, Andy. Then you know what? Then I've got something else I'm excited about. So I like the diversification. I like the dual income stream thing because, I don't know, it just makes me feel more secure. I think it all goes back to just the stress level of feeling secure and protecting my family.
Well, that's a powerful motivation. Now that you're debt-free, are you still saving 50%?
Well, yeah, we are because, for a couple of reasons, because we're used to it, because we're privileged enough to have a good income. And then lastly, we want to continue to create other income streams that help this family tree grow. So right now not all of the money, a good amount of the money that we were plunking towards the mortgage is now going directly into a savings account to help us to buy our first rental property. So we're hoping to do that this year, on the latter portion of the year, to buy our first property. And then we also did free up some of the cash to have a little bit more fun and enjoy our lives. We've gone on more vacations since we paid off our mortgage than we have as a young family at all. The kids got to go to Mexico. We got to go to Florida. Life's been good, and we've been able to really take advantage of that hard work that we've done as a family and really set ourselves up for the time when they're a little older, when they're older than 4 years old and they want to travel with us and they want to spend time. So we're planning for that future. And, so we still are saving 50%, but we're saving it for things that we're excited about. We're saving it for, rental properties. We're saving it for vacations and having a lot of fun doing it.
I love that. I love how it's evolving, but that you're keeping it up.
Absolutely.
So it's marriage, kids, and money. And we talked about pre-marriage, marriage, engagement rings. We've been talking about money. What are some of the money lessons that you're trying to empower your children with? And also, of the 50% savings, how are you saving for college?
Great questions. So the first thing, we started a chore and reward program for our kids a couple of years ago, probably when Zoe was 5. Essentially, every Saturday, we get together with the kids and we say, hey, you've got 3 chores to complete to support our family here. And based on your age, we'll give you $1 for every age that you are. So, when you're 5, you get $5. When you're 7, you get $7. And, we do things like, Zoe will help me to empty the garbage cans. She'll help to put away the silverware. We have this tiny little vacuum that they can buzz around the kitchen to clean up their crumbs under the kitchen table. And we do this for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we need the help. We got this house. We want some people to help us out, right?
You need some workers.
Exactly. We need little workers. But also to teach them that, with hard work comes reward. That's how life works. So when you work hard, you will get paid for your work. And obviously, there are things that they have to do around the house just because they're a part of the family. They have to get themselves ready in the morning. They have to make their own beds. They have to clear their dishes after meals, things like that. That's just a part of being a member of the Hill family. But if you want to go above and beyond and help with things, you can get paid for it. And as they get older, we change those chores, right? So Calvin's 4 right now. So he helps to take the laundry out of the basket, out of the dryer and put it into a basket. That's good for a 4-year-old. And I help him to bring it upstairs. So as the kids get older, we'll make the chores a little harder, but then they get paid a little bit more money. So with that, they're learning about contribution. They're learning about money, how it works. And outside of that, we're just having a lot of open discussions with them about money, about what our plans are, what our situation is, how they can be able to buy things that they want, how savings can help them to get things that they want in the future. And also, we have had a lot of conversations about giving. Over the past 3 years now, we've made a transition in our journey. We've had a lot of personal motivation to hit our financial goals, but when those have happened, we've had these opportunities to think, hey, you know what, we should give back. We should not only give our time, but give our money to help other people who haven't had these opportunities in their lives to have a great life. So we've spent a lot of our extra money too on giving. So in 2017, after we paid off the mortgage, we were only given like 1% of our income to charity. Last year, we upped that to 3%. This year, we're shooting for 5%. So we're just making these little incremental increases in our giving to do a couple things to give back, but then also to demonstrate to our kids that that is an important thing to do. This is a learned behavior that I'm trying to personally learn. And I want to demonstrate that to my kids. So when I had their little give jar set up and we're saying, hey, we're putting money in your give jar, I was personally looking in my brain and saying, how much giving am I doing? How can I teach these kids about giving if I'm not really giving that much? So we're sort of learning on this journey together, and it's been a lot of fun. So those are some of the things we're doing to teach them about money at home. And then you asked about college. We started a 529 for both of them when they were born. So we're trying to take as much advantage of compound interest as possible. We do not think that we're going to have nearly enough to pay for their full college tuitions, maybe half at the rate that we're at. So to make up for that other half, there's nothing wrong with community college for a couple of years before you go into the university. We're going to take advantage of scholarships. I've had some great conversations with people who specialize in how kids can get scholarships just through hard work, filling out the applications, giving back in your community. And then again, there's nothing wrong with them continuing to do a little hard work on their side. So if they're able to get a job in high school, get a job in college to help contribute, I think it can be a family mission to help our kids walk across the stage debt-free.
Yeah, we try to do similar things in our family, trying to teach the kids about saving, giving. Ironically, my kids, I think it was December of 2017, and I had launched Inspired Money. So there was 1 week where I didn't have a guest recorded in the can. So I just grabbed my recorder and I'm like, I'm going to ask my kids some questions about money. And none of them seemed to know what investing was, even though I'm a financial advisor. So I'm like, I got to work on that. They don't understand investing, but they understood saving and spending and giving. So I was like, all right, not bad. With your kids, Zoe and Calvin, do you see that they have unique characteristics of their personalities? Like, is one a saver? Is one a spender? Like, how were they born relative to what you're trying to teach them?
It's so true, and you don't think that they would, but they do. Like, the giving side of things comes really naturally for Calvin. Like, he gets it. I mean, he's only 4 years old, but we show him the videos of the kids who don't have a lot, and he wants to put more of his money in the give jar. Zoe's very excited about spending and enjoying things, and that's okay too. And she's also really good at saving. She gets the idea. She sees the she watched a video the other day on YouTube Kids of some girl who's got an iPhone X, and she's like, I want to get an iPhone X. I'm like, you know how much those things cost? They're like $1,000. She's like, I could do that. She's got $200 in her savings account right now. She is saving it up, and she's 7 years old. So by the time, I don't know what a proper phone age is. You can help me with that, Andy.
I don't know either.
But maybe like 12 or 13 or something like that. I didn't get one until I was in college. But anyway, maybe by that time she'll have enough to save up for her iPhone X.
We're trying to put it off for as long as possible.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. I'm in the same boat. That's not even an area. You said your oldest was 11, I think.
She's 11.
Yeah. So we're going to hold off as long as possible as well.
Yeah. I mean, ours have they've inherited some of our old devices, but they can't use the phone. They can only use them at home on a limited basis with Wi-Fi. But yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
Our whole theory is that they're going to get it. It's going to be part of their lives, and why rush into it? It's like, try to embrace the low-tech part where we all sit at the dinner table. I'm actually the one with the problem, not them right now, because we don't let them have a phone.
It's addictive. It is, man, and it's tough to pull myself away, too. I try my best to... When I get home from work, I try to turn it off and then go put it on the dock that's, in my bedroom away from everything. But it is hard. It's a hard habit to break because it's a new thing for us that we have every single piece of information in our hands whenever we want it. I mean, it's nuts.
So I love asking all the Inspired Money guests, how do you define success?
How do I define success? I guess I would just say the ability to have time freedom, the ability to craft my schedule the way I would like it and spend time with people that I love. And right now, that's my family. That's my young family. So if I'm able to craft my day and, define how I want to spend it, it would be a combination of time with the family, time with doing things that inspire me, time for contribution and helping my community or helping others, I think that would be a really successful life. And I'm moving towards that, and I'm really excited about that. So that's the path I'm on, and I'm really excited to continue to move towards that.
I love that. Yeah, you're doing great things. I mean, congratulations to you and your family. It's amazing to see all the things that you've accomplished and that you're not beholden to anyone because you're debt free. You have tremendous flexibility in your financial future and in setting your goals for things to come. Look forward to you getting your first investment property because that'll be nice, man. Too.
Yeah, absolutely. I am pumped, and we're trying to do it. We're trying to save up enough cash to purchase one without getting another mortgage, just because we don't want to have another mortgage. So it's taking us a little longer than the normal path, but that's okay. We like that. We like that way of going about things.
So it sounds like you value not having that mortgage because you can sleep better at night and not feel the stress. Like it empowers you to go to work, which you enjoy. Yep. But you don't have this like extra burden of stress on you.
Yeah, it is. It's less of a math thing for me because there's plenty of arguments why it maybe would make sense to get a mortgage, and you can make more in your rents versus the mortgage payment. It just goes out the window for me. It's all really emotional. It's all really, how can I try to craft a life that provides me more time with my family and less stress, and that's really my primary motivation.
Well, there are no guarantees in life. And I think that there are those who say that, like with real estate investing, you should use the leverage. You should borrow because then you might be able to buy like 2 properties right now as investment properties and realize that additional income. But like I said, there are no guarantees. There's risk. If the real estate market were suddenly to turn, like you saw in the financial crisis, then you could find yourself underwater and then stress. You'd be really stressed.
I was really affected by that, Andy. When I bought my first house, I bought it for $200,000, and then, maybe 4 or 5 years later, it was valued at like $100,000. And that home equity line of credit I had, they froze that. Wow. They said, "Okay, you can't borrow anymore because your home is, a lot less." So that's freaked me out. I couldn't move. I couldn't sell the thing. People were doing short sales or foreclosing. It was a scary time to own a home and be really, strapped in it. So that really affected how I thought about mortgages in the future. And I don't want to ever be in that position again.
No, it's a valuable reminder. And I think that, on paper, something that people forget is the emotional side and the fact that your physical health can be impacted by your financial health. I mean, you saw people in 2008 who were so stressed out by seeing their 401k plan go down 60% that they physically got ill. They actually got illnesses. And, you see that through economic cycles and market crashes that people get sick. The hospitals get busier. So there's an impact there, right? For mental health and physical health, that there is tremendous value in reducing that stress.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and that makes a lot of sense.
So you talk to so many great people on your show, and you said that one of your motivations is to learn. Do you have a tip that you can share with the Inspired Money listener that that has helped you or helped your listenership?
Yeah, one thing that I've pulled away from a lot of the really successful people that I've had the opportunity to interview is intentionality. Setting specific goals and then working hard to achieve those goals. And it's not just, the pie in the sky goals. Hey, wouldn't it be great to be a millionaire? Wouldn't it be great to do X? It's physically putting a time and a number around it and then putting mini goals under those in order to achieve them. So one practice that I've started to do this year, based on talking to all these really smart people, is I started, it's sort of goals/journaling. There's this book that I got called Make It Happen. Actually, it has 2 letters before the it that I can't say on your show because it's a family-friendly show. But what essentially you do is you chart your goals for the entire year, and then every day you put your to-dos that are around those goals, and they help you to hit them. And I've never done anything like this before except for this year. I just started it January 1st to kick off the year, and it has helped me immensely. So I said at the beginning of the year, here's the stuff that I want to do this year that would make my year great, both family-oriented, financially oriented, marriage-oriented. How do I want to, what kind of marriage do I want to have? I wrote all that down. And then I've made mini goals that I do per month, per day, to help me to get to that ultimate goal. And it has helped me immensely. And I would highly recommend it. Because we're on our phones so much, sometimes it's all about the app, or it's all about I've written it in my phone and then it just gets lost. There's something really cathartic or engaging about physically writing something down in a journal. And it's almost bringing me back a little bit to, some earlier times, and then really motivating me. So I've been doing it every day since the beginning of the year, and I love it. So I would highly recommend that for people.
Great advice. I love it. Yeah, I've been using the bullet journal this year, which is all
there you go.
Handwriting it to the extreme extent of actually writing out months into the book, but doing it by hand, which to me bothers me a little bit because I'm like, I could just have this on my phone and not have to put in the work, but just putting in the 5 minutes to write down the month. It's powerful because it slows you down. I
think if it was on the phone, I'm addicted to social media. So if I went on my phone to go check out my written things that I needed to do, I would 40 minutes later I'd be like, what I've been on Facebook? How did I get off of this track? So I need it to be separate too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Andy. Thanks for sharing your inspiring story and your successes with everyone. Can you share, how can people follow you, listen to your show, read your blog, and learn more about you?
Absolutely. If you guys want to check me out at marriagekidsandmoney.com, I also have a podcast like Andy called Marriage, Kids, and Money. And I've developed a book, an ebook. It's a free ebook that I would love to, share with your listeners. It's called The Young Family Wealth Playbook, and it's essentially all the stuff that I've learned from interviewing all these really smart people on my show. It's broken down into 7 steps. And if you guys want to check that out at marriagekidsandmoney.com/playbook, that's free for you and your listeners.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andy. Hope to see you soon. And wish you continued success.
Thanks so much, Andy.
So what was your favorite Inspired Money moment? I'm super impressed by Andy and Nicole's ability to save 50% of their income. Look at the sense of security and flexibility that it gives them. Soon they'll be able to buy an investment property that will generate additional passive income for their family. Set your goals and keep chipping away at them. If you had a different favorite Inspired Money moment and takeaway, let me know by going to inspiredmoney.fm/Facebook. Let's continue the conversation there. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this Inspired Money episode, please share it. Share it on social media or tell a friend. Thanks again for joining me on this mission. The music you're listening to right now and all other music on today's show is by the amazing Jim Kimo West. Aloha, Kimo. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.